book and reading wrap up for 2024. That's what we're here to talk about today, my favorite books of 2024. Hey reader, if you're new, this is where we talk about reading and writing. And if you're not new, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be sharing my favorite books of 2024. I apologize for the delay in this video. Unfortunately, my stepfather died at the end of December, so I took a little break. But I'm back, and beginning this year, I will be posting more videos about writing your first book. In the meantime, let's get to that 2024 book wrap-up. I'm author Nancy Basile, and I write murder mysteries. You can get one of my books for free using the link in the description below. All of the books on this list earned 5 stars from me, and I'm going to share them in no particular order. First up is A Jingle Bell Mingle by Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy. I mentioned this book in my Christmas romance list, which you can check out right here. I loved this book. The characters are fun, and the story tugs at your heartstrings without being overly angsty. And it even has a little bit of a mystery. In fact, I loved this whole queer romance series, and I think you will too. So Jingle Bell Mingle makes my best of 2024. Next on my list is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry books, so I wasn't surprised when I loved this one. What I was surprised about was that it was very cathartic and a little bit like going through therapy. It's a woman and a man who end up being roommates because their significant others cheated on them with each other. So her ex-fiance ended up with his ex-girlfriend. So painful. Not only do they become great roommates, they become best friends, and then they end up falling in love. But they have a lot of stuff that they have to work through. And the things that they end up working through and helping each other with really pulled at my heart. That Emily Henry really knows how to dig deep into a human psyche and pull out the pain that can end up being resolved by whoever you fall in love with. The next author is another one who ends up making me feel like I'm sitting in the therapy chair. It is Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. Wow. I didn't expect this to kind of be a continuation of her series of rom-coms, but it so was. And it was a delightful surprise when it kind of wrapped up storylines that had been going on in other books. You don't see it coming, and bam, does it hit you. This one was great because a woman has to really struggle with some heavy-duty mother-daughter stuff in order to move on and form a relationship with someone who is also dealing with some heavy-duty stuff. They almost miss each other, but of course they don't. Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez are both fantastic at making you feel like there's no way that the couple is going to end up together at the end of the book, but they always find a way. Next up, in no particular order, is Bridesmaid for Hire by Megan Quinn. I love Megan Quinn books, and I've talked about that before. Bridesmaid for Hire was a lot of fun. I especially loved the male main character, Brody. He unfortunately gets caught up in all these pranks and embarrassing situations. Megan Quinn writes funny, embarrassing scenes like no one else. This is a fantastic rom-com, and it definitely got 5 stars from me. Now let's talk about BROMANTIC PUCKBOY. It's the 6th book in the PUCKBOY series, and I love this series by Eden Finley and Saxon James. Isn't that a great pen name, Saxon James? This one kind of moves away from the main group of PUCKBOYs that we started with. The first book in this series is still my absolute favorite. In fact, recently I gave it a reread. But in this one, we have kind of a bisexual awakening when a famous all-star ends up paired with a younger guy on his new team. Not only does he help him bro around town and avoid marrying yet another wife, they end up, of course, falling in love. If you like hockey romance and gay romance, you are going to love that series. Another sports romance that I absolutely loved and I wasn't sure if I would is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. It's not a hockey romance, baseball romance, or football romance. It is a golf romance, of all things. The male main character is fantastic, and the female main character is smart and strong, which I always love. And not only that, she's diabetic. So we've got some chronic condition medical representation in this. Tessa Bailey did a fantastic job, and I highly recommend Fangirl Down. Next on my list is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. Now, I'm not going to go into super detail about this because I have another, I don't know if it'll let me tag it there or not, but I have a complete video review of The Pairing, and I loved this one. It was fun, it was funny, but there were still some serious issues they had to work through, and it takes you on a food, wine, drinking tour of Europe. I mean, come on. It doesn't get much better than this. I actually felt like I was on vacation with them. The whole thing was very enjoyable, and it really celebrates queer romance, which I also enjoyed. They were joyous. That doesn't always happen in queer romance books. So I highly recommend The Pairing. Also, I apologize for the glare in my glasses. I would try to do it without my glasses, but then I wouldn't be able to see a dang thing. I'll try to figure out how to take care of that in future videos. Anyway, next on my list, 3 Ways to Mend a Broken Heart. What a fun book. It takes place in Hawaii. It's a continuation of Trilina Pucci's Tangled in Tinsel and Not So Lucky. A woman got dumped by her boyfriend, who she thought was endgame, and she has to go on this vacation with her best friend and her new husband. But the husband has 2 best friends who enjoy sharing women. And one thing leads to another, and the 3 of them find a happy ending. I really, really liked this book, and I wanted more of this trio because the 2 guys are best friends. They're hilarious. She and her best friend, who's married, are hilarious. I loved everybody in this book. And if you know Trilina Pucci, there are so many funny scenes in it. She loves to toy with some of the poor characters who have some embarrassing situations, meaning the ex, not our favorite people. But it's so good. If you like a Why Choose or Reverse Harem, I highly recommend it. Now let's talk about my favorite mysteries from the year. This next one, I don't know if you would consider it a mystery, but it definitely had like a paranormal mystery element to it. And that was Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. I also have a full video review of that book on my channel. Liane Moriarty is masterful at telling a story with a wide variety of characters that seem to have nothing in common, and then somehow, some way, they all end up connected. And the ending is always a surprise. I wasn't sure if I was going to dig this book or not, because starting a new book is always tricky. You're never sure if you're going to love it as much as your last book, but it didn't take me long to just flow with this book. I loved it, and there's really not much else to say about it. The next mystery on my list isn't totally a mystery. It's also a little bit of a rom-com because it's by Lucy Score, who is fantastic at rom-coms. But this is part of her Riley Thorne series. It's called Body in the Backyard. It's the 4th book in the series, and it was as delightful as the other ones. I tore through all 4 of these books when I got them. Just sat down, read them cover to cover, done. It follows Riley Thorne, who is a psychic, a reluctant psychic, and her hottie boyfriend. They're living together now while they're renovating a house, and they're trying to get some alone time, but their elderly neighbors, of course, keep crashing the party. And in the meantime, they end up finding a dead body. And one of the things I like about this series is, 1, it takes place in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which isn't far from me, so I'm very familiar with the area. And 2, it calls back to previous characters in other books in the series. So the murders and the characters, it's like one long story. So you have a lot of time to really get comfortable with these folks. I absolutely love this series, and I aspire one day to write a series like it. Total fiction goals. And the last book in this list is The Hunter by Tana French. I have a full video review of this one. It takes place in Ireland, and it is the second book in this series. The mystery is twisty and suspenseful, and Tana French does a fantastic job of making a meal, not just of the events of the mystery, but the motives and the whys behind the mystery. Each character is driven by their own agenda, and those agendas clash, and that's usually at the bottom of these mysteries. And there's a history with the characters that comes into play, and Ireland and the town where they live plays such an important part. The culture of the area is entirely important in this story. Tana French's writing has always enthralled me, and I love this book. In fact, I like it better than The Searcher, which was the first one in this series. So start with The Searcher and then move on to The Hunter, and love both of them. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching the video. I sincerely appreciate you. And if you found any books on this list that you're going to add to your TBR, leave a comment and tell me which one. I would love to chat about it when you get done reading it. And hey, why don't you subscribe while you're here? It's free. And then you'll get more book content just like this. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.